Well, I think you both tapped into it in that, I get pitches all the time where I just think, yeah, would be nice, but not going to happen. I do agree that, one of the things that I was looking at is, one of the key challenges in terms of, social networking, which they're obviously trying to, tap into and leverage here, is the ability for people to operate as themselves or show different sides of themselves in different environments. And so, what could have made this even better is not trying to recreate something or, reestablish the wheel or build the wheel from scratch, whatever the cliche is, but really tapping into how they could tap into the existing platforms and make Samsung a critical part within any one of these existing environments. Whether it's already 34 million users on Bebo, there's even more on MySpace in the US, Facebook less so over here. It's really looking at not just the specific client as well, but how the client fits into the entire industry map.
That's interesting.
So making them much more competitive by being able to operate in the environments that are already
So
very
rather than being a
successful.
self-contained environment, what this might have been would be a syndicatable application. So to be able to say, here's, we'll do a sort of Samsung aspiration application, and here's how you plug it into Facebook, here's how you plug it into Bebo, here's how you plug it into anything.
Exactly, and making it really easily adaptable. So, for example, I use Bebo in a much more fun and entertaining way, and I use, speaking purely on a personal usage basis, I use Facebook in a more kind of utilitarian basis, more kind of pure communications, and that's starting to change a bit. But if I had an application like this that I could use in both of those accounts, then I'd be using this application actually in effect even more than I'd be using either one of those platforms.
Yeah, this is something that at the end of my time at the BBC, we did the BBC 2.0 project, and if you Google for BBC's 15 web principles, Tom Loosemore posted up a bunch of them, and one of them was the web as a canvas. So, when you're thinking about your brand online, it's now as much, if not more, about how your brand exists on already existing platforms than it is about how you create a new space for yourself there. So it's a good example. Radio 1's interactive strategy, the BBC, is very much about going to where their audience is rather than kind of expecting them to come to bbc.co.uk/Radio 1. So an example of that, they bought a tab on MSN Messenger client for Radio 1, just because that's where they knew a lot of their core audience spent a lot of their time. And just doing that and providing a link through to the stream increased usage of that Radio 1 stream by 30%, just by basically going to where their audience was rather than expecting them to come to them. So, at Channel 4, that's absolutely what I'm looking for in projects aimed at 14 to 19-year-olds. I'm not going to commission anything on channel4.com for that audience, but I want to commission projects which go into these new social spaces, whether it's in groupware like I am, whether it's on mobile, whether it's in Bebo or MySpace, Flickr, whatever. I kind of want projects that will take stories and issues to where our audience already is, rather than trying to create new spaces. It's incredibly hard, and it's not impossible, but it's incredibly hard now to find a niche where you can create a completely new product in a completely new space.
John,
just very quickly on this Samsung proposal. You're right, it was two ideas. The one idea that Orange would have supported was that it becomes self-service for supporting your own device if you're actually an Orange customer and you bought a Samsung handset. That should have been parked, shelved as a separate product. The critical brief that was a bit nasty in places should have just been forgotten about. I wouldn't have even included that because it lost focus, and that just added to the page weight as you went through. The aspirational content thing is tricky because Nokia tried this, didn't they? They had Nokia Club for a while and then it got shut down, wholly shut down. And I think everybody in the handset space has tried to get into the content space where the operator has actually tried to put a brick wall up saying, no, this is my space, you're not doing that. And if there is a content space to be had, then it's to be had by the brands, the MTVs, the big, the Skies, the BBC.
Yeah, if you think about it as, for example, in Bebo, people spend 42 minutes per session on Bebo, and on average that's daily. So you're either asking them to do something else, which, that's a big block of time. So you're actually, asking them to spend more of their leisure time or free time or whatever with you on top of that pretty big block of time. Or you're saying, we're offering you something so much better that you'll spend less time doing that. And it's got to be either one of those things. And if it's not either one of those things, then you need to be in there and be part of that 43 minutes.
I think that if there is a niche, there's a very definite way of approaching it. And the good thing about this pitch is I do think they touched on something, although it was still a bit woolly. But I was talking at a conference yesterday with Jerry Engstrom, the guy behind Jaiku, and he gave a really good pitch, which is similar to a really good talk, which is similar to one that Tom Coates did a while ago called Native to Web Data, which is basically about how to approach design in these new spaces. And he was saying, for new social media sites, the first thing you have to understand is what is the social object that's at the heart of your proposition. So for Flickr, that's photos. For Last.fm, that's music. For MySpace, actually, it's very much music as well. For Upcoming, it's events. What is that kind of social object? In the case of this one, it was something about aspirations and dreams, which is good, but I don't know if that's hard enough. And then he said the second thing is, what verbs are you going to apply to that? So when your users come to the site, you've got to have a few verbs. Are you talking about buy? So with Amazon, it's buy, and with eBay, it's buy and sell. Actually, the two verbs, the objects in eBay are second-hand goods. The verbs that users can do is buy and sell. It might be share, it might be talk, it might be chat, whatever. And then from that, you can kind of build out into what the social application is. And I think if you're pitching a niche, you have to understand those two things and have them right up front.
Well, ideally, when you're building a business model, you should have that kind of clarity.
But it's worth. I mean, people would have been blogging Jury's talk last night, and also if you did a Google search for native to web data, you'd find Tom Coates' presentation, which is a little more technical. But they're both, for me, they really nail what it is that actually can help you identify where new niches are. Whereas an awful lot of applications, pitches that we get for social media sites are just people will come along and use the site and have a great time. And there's no there's no real kind of sense of what...
Can I just point out the audience box as well, which is, it wasn't actually stated in the pitch itself. That was my inference.
You did well to find it, actually.
No, it wasn't in there. They've just said that it's everybody. So when you sort of say, who's this for? Who's actually going to get the most out of this? Who's going to approach it? How are you going to approach it? It's everybody.
And that means you don't know.
Which means you have no idea, and it's frankly it's an absolute red mark if a pitch comes through to me. You don't have an idea of actually who it's for, because then it's a piece of vanity publishing. We've got about 10 minutes to do this third one. So can we go through?